In the case of memorization versus understanding, memorization will take you only but so far. Progress can and will be made, but evolving past what is only perceived to be true becomes difficult, and plateaus are usually inevitable. However, committing to actually understanding something on a deep level is surrendering to the long game. The deeper the level of understanding, the more exponential the results. It's essentially like compounding at its finest. I recently came across a story about the artist Jackson Pollock, and his most famous pieces of art can look like complete chaos. It almost looks like somebody just took art, flung it at a canvas, and said, here it is. And it leads many to believe that anybody could do it, right? So when you actually dive deeper into who Pollock was, you discover he was actually a classically trained artist. His earliest pieces of art are unrecognizable compared to what actually made him a household name in the late 40s. But without that early art foundation, without having a firm understanding of the principles of what art was and how to go about it, his quote unquote drip method, that may have never happened. What many thought anybody could do was actually years and years in the making. And when I read things like this, I always tie it back to shooting. And within the art of shooting, we're all watching artists in their own right. You know, each elite jump shooter has his or her own way in which they've been classically trained. They've taken the principles of shooting and uniquely molded it to meet the strengths of who they are as individuals. You know, so it's through that tireless work that, in a sense, they've earned their variability. So when we watch these pros, you know, attempting to mimic what they're doing without the understanding of how they actually got to that level is somewhat irresponsible on behalf of both the player, but usually more so the trainer involved in it. So, you know, doing this is kind of like one day waking up, throwing paint on a canvas and expecting the Louvre to be knocking down your door. The foundational understanding of shooting eventually paves the way for growth outside of the most basic principles. So the path of progress is never ending. It's paved with the beginner's mindset. And at the end of the day, we're always at the very beginning of what we know.